Ready, set, go.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot, an UpDog podcast. I'm Andrea.
And I am Jack, and we are your hosts today. We have a great recurring topic for you. What is this episode about, Dre?
It's about your mama. No,
Okay.
it's right. Our topic today is about what's up in the disc dog world for this month. What is coming up in the month of July, and anything that's been going on the disc dog discussion page for dog and also in the disc dog world. So it's kind of our take on what we've been hearing about, what topics that are going around. It's a summary of all of that for you guys. So if you haven't been much on social media, you're feeling a little behind this month, this is the episode for you to catch up and what's going on in the world of UpDog and Disc Dog.
And for these episodes, we have these episodes now every month. It's a quick, like Dre said, just a quick recap and a quick, announcement of what's to come. If you have events coming up that, like, you got a big event or a themed event that you want to promote, if you shoot Dre or I a Facebook message, let us know, like, hey, in August, we're going to have this. Maybe you're hosting a big seminar with somebody, you want it announced on the podcast, let us know. We do look at the discussion page and try to find the ones that have been posted about and announce those, but we know we miss things because sometimes the algorithm doesn't show us it. Send us a Facebook message. That way there, your event or your seminar or whatever you got going on that you want people to know about gets talked about. All right, let's do it, Dre. So first up, I got a question for you. So there was a post that had a number of comments on it, and I'd love to hear your take on it. But they were asking about the best discs to use for beginners. Now, when they said beginners, I think that, like, as I was reading through the comments, some people took it as beginner dogs, and some people took it as puppies, and some people took it as, like, beginner people. So, like, yeah. Which it was interesting because I think, you might change your response based on whether you were thinking about a puppy or maybe just a 2 or 3 year old dog that's just starting to learn Frisbee, or maybe you as a human are starting to learn Frisbee. What are your thoughts? What's good beginner discs?
Well, which one do you want me to answer?
All right. Well, let's start with puppies.
Okay, so for puppies, for me, if it's before the teething age, so before around 5-6 months, I'm looking just for soft little cloth discs. The Paraflights are great, and then I really like the Chuck It Zip Flights. I think both of those are made by Chuck It. I just really like that they fly well, they roll well, and they tug really well. But they're still cloth and soft, so they don't break little baby teeth, and they're not too hard. The puppies can really sink their little needle teeth into them, and build a lot of bite confidence. So I like those. They come in smaller puppy sizes, all the way up until the dog is done teething. Basically, I really only like soft discs. You could also check out the Soft Atoms. Those are really pretty squishy. But for me, I typically stick with either a soft atom or a cloth disc up until teething.
That makes sense. That's basically kind of what I do too. And especially they tend to like something like that in their mouth, and they'll keep it in their mouth, and they'll want to go back after it. Yeah. So as you're trying to build that drive for them to get the disc and to bite the disc, that's really helpful.
Yeah, just to think about it, if it's like a baby puppy, their gums are still really sensitive. Like, they don't have any callus on their gums. They don't have any, like, as you use your hands, right? As a human, as you use your hands, you build up callus on your skin, so it's less sensitive. And so when you touch something, you'll have less sensation to it, but you'll have less sensitivity to it too. You could touch hotter things without getting burned. You could touch sharp things without getting cut because you have some callus on your hand. It's the same thing for puppies' mouths and their gums. Like, when they're first born, they don't have any of that. So if you bring out, even if it was something like a soft atom, that's still a harder plastic. So when they really bite into that, like a puppy's going to test they explore everything with their mouth. If they bite down on that and they feel a little bit of pain because there isn't any callus on their gum, they're going to bite less hard next time. And I think for puppies, and we want them to be disc dogs, we want them to have unlimited confidence with their bite. We don't want them to deal with any pain or deterrent from biting or tugging when they're that young. We only want really positive, fun, powerful experiences where the puppy feels strong and the puppy feels confident. So I try to avoid any type of pain response with their mouth. I don't worry about building up any of the callus or toughness of their mouth until after they teeth.
All
So that's
right.
my
So soft discs,
yeah.
material discs, great for puppies. So now let's switch to, let's say I've got a 2 or 3 year old dog, but I'm just starting to do disc with it. They've got a hard enough bite, does that change the answer at all? Like,
Want to go first on this one?
wow, no, I'm asking this
Okay.
question.
Okay. So for me, I always recommend light plastic. Always. So either if it's a smaller dog, I might recommend an extra, Sonic Extra, the 215 millimeter. And if it's a full-size dog, I would recommend probably the extra distance, just because it's a little grippier and a little bit more durable than the freestyle. And the reason for that, it's not because it's an easier disc to throw, it's because it'll teach proper mechanics of the throw. I feel like the heavier you go with the disc, the more forgiving the disc is. So you don't need hyzer. You can throw in a little bit of wind and it won't really be impacted by it. Doesn't need much spin. And I feel like those create, if we're talking about a new handler and a 2 to 3 year old dog, it just creates weak habits. When you're starting in the sport, if you start with the disc that's going to force you to learn the mechanics, then you're going to have a better foundation of understanding of how a disc flies. Another way you can do that is go play disc golf for 3 months. If you go play disc, I mean, you could play with heavy plastic, go play disc golf, and you'll accomplish the same goal of understanding flight mechanics and how the wind impacts it and how hyzer and stuff impact it. But I feel like the heavier discs that we have, the supersonics, the superheroes, the jaws, those type of discs, they tend to mask poor form if you don't know how to control your disc in different scenarios, so that when you get in a scenario with a little bit more wind, or you have to, throw crosswind or something, you might not know what adjustments to make because you've always been playing with heavy plastic. So for me, it's light plastic all the way, unless your dog is an absolute destroyer, and then, disc up as necessary.
Yeah. I would have said the same thing. I think whenever I do a seminar and people are wanting to learn a new throw, especially a throw, like a Anheuser throw or a
Mhm.
air bounce or something that really utilizes, like you said, the physics of the disc in flight and the air pressure that
Yeah.
moves the disc. And I say, all right, grab a stack of discs and come out. We're going to do this. We're going to work on this. And I'll tell them, I'm like, if you have lightweight plastic, bring lightweight plastic. Even if you've been throwing heavy all day long and you only throw heavy with your dog, I don't care. Grab light plastic
Yep.
because they'll be able to see what little nuances there are in that throw, and they'll be able to understand like how the tweaks that they make with their release and their angle and all of that impacts the flight. Like you said, if it was a heavy disc, you would change it and it wouldn't
It
change that
doesn't
much
change
in the
much.
flight.
Yeah,
You
it
wouldn't
doesn't
see
change
it
much.
because, like you said, a heavy disc masks those imperfections.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're learning new throws, definitely get some lightweight plastic. It'll help you understand why the disc is flying left, right, up, down, all that junk.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My
All
only
right,
caveat
good answers for that one.
My only caveat to that is there is one light disc that does still mask poor form, and that's a Z disc. So I just wouldn't learn on the Z disc. And all my
I
students know that that's not my that's I won't let them throw that in seminars, because that disc you can literally throw it Anheuser hard and it'll still go flat in the wind. So it's not going to help you learn how to throw. Is my thing about the Z disc. So if you already know how to throw it. If you love it, throw it. But if you're learning how to throw, or you're working on your throws, or you're looking to understand disc mechanics, don't throw the Z disc.
yeah.
Next, is that the last one of that question?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so speaking of discs, there was a new disc approved for UpDog Play. It's called the Disc-A-Lot 230, and both the lightweight and the heavyweight Bite-A-Lot series. So tell me about this disc, Jack.
So interestingly, well, first of all, it's definitely dog safe. No issues there. It's, I tried the lightweight. I tried the heavyweight one. I worked with them with my dogs. The lightweight one, it's a little bit more durable than say like a fastback or something, but definitely by the end of a couple rounds, my dogs brought it back with some pretty severe bite marks in it. by the end of a day of playing with it, it would probably go in the trash can just like a fastback would. Now the heavier plastic one was very durable. It was nice and flexible. So my dogs really enjoyed keeping it in their mouth. They liked it. They wanted to gnaw on it a little bit, so I had to get it from them, so to keep them from
Chewy.
doing that. But speaking of the Z disc and the way in which I guess I always get confused. Would that be called stable
Yeah,
if it's always
it's an overstable disc if it's always correcting to fade. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So then I would say this is very similar to that because when I threw it with my normal throw, which I normally throw with a little bit of hyzer, and then the disc, straightens out on its flight path and then ends with a little bit of,
Right.
fade to
Fade.
the left because I'm a right-hander. When I threw it like that, it immediately went to the left and just stayed left, like a disc golf would, like
Yeah.
disc golf
Very
disc
simple.
would.
That's a heavy one or the light one?
Both of them, to be honest, but I mean the heavier one more so. And so then I tried releasing it flat, and that helped, obviously taking the hyzer off of it, but it still, towards mid-flight, took a
Hook
hard
off.
left.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right. So then I just started releasing it with a little bit of anhyzer,
And it just
and it definitely overcorrects for somebody that's struggling pushing disc to the right. For people that have a trouble, maybe they're releasing too late, or you're turning your wrist over, and you just have been struggling with that. This disc would definitely help you
sounds like a
because,
Z disc.
well, yeah, it seemed to fly similar to what you described the Z disc. I haven't thrown the Z disc a lot, so I'm not going to say, for myself, it flies exactly like that because I don't know, but it sounds like it
Yeah.
based on what you're describing.
Real
Um,
flat and then hard fade.
yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was kind of what I experienced with this one. Obviously, the more you play with the disc, the better you get at throwing it. This one has dimples on the top, like the little half bubbly thing.
Yeah, a little golf
That was kind of
grip.
interesting to feel like that instead. It also has rings on it, but the rings are further inside. So like when you put your thumb on the disc, you don't, unless I was to like really stretch my thumb inward, like you wouldn't naturally feel the rings. So your finger is
Just
on
feel
the
the bubbles.
dimples as
Yeah,
you
interesting.
throw, and it's on like a little indentation. So it kind of felt different than a normal disc. Again, if you start playing with it, I'm sure it'll start to feel normal to you.
Right.
And it wasn't a bad feeling or anything. It felt good in my hand. It felt like I had good grip with it and everything. Just flies different. So anyway,
Where are
something
those
new.
made?
What's that?
Where are they made? Where are they from?
Kat, do you remember where the Discolot discs are made? Europe. That's
Okay.
kind of a broad area.
I think I've seen these. I missed the post, so I didn't see any of that, and I haven't gotten the test, but I did see and have those types of discs in my hand with the little golf dimples in them last season, and I was told it was a test disc, so I'm assuming it might be the same disc. I don't
Well,
think it
there
was.
is another manufacturer that, like the Frisbee Escape discs, have dimples in them as well.
Maybe it was the FE discs that I saw last season. That would
Yeah.
probably make sense. Yeah, so if you have the contact, have them send a couple to me and I'll try them out. I'd be happy to put some teeth in them.
What's you said it was Gertz? What's Gert's last name?
Eldmanis.
Yeah.
Eldanis.
Eldminus?
Yeah, I know the Kurt's name.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it's always fun when a new disc comes out to give it a try and see what you think, and you know, so the name of the disc is Disc-A-Lot, and the heavier duty one is called, and there are 230 is the diameter millimeters, and the Bite a Lot is the one that is the heavier duty one, and I don't yet know like how you would order them. I'm sure like you could probably Google Disc-A-Lot and maybe find it. I have not done that, but they're made in Latvia, Kat said. Well, or Gertz is in Latvia. Sorry, I don't know if they're made in Latvia, but Gertz is in Latvia. So anyhow, check it out, see what you think. Let us know what you think. All right,
All right.
so we're gonna stick with this with throwing and disc and some of the topics that were in the disc dog news. So somebody on the discussion page was asking Dre, when and what is the best way to transition a dog from rollers to air catches? So if I'm just starting with a dog and I've started with rollers, interestingly enough, on the thread, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't even know that you should start with rollers first." That makes sense. So
Fascinating.
so if I've got a dog that's starting to catch the rollers, how do I transition to air catches? What are your ideas on that, Dre?
Well, the first thing that I work on, if it's especially if it's a young dog, is usually the reaction time. So the reason we start with rollers is because it's a persistent catch opportunity for the dog. So it teaches the dog how to track a moving object and coordinate their body with their visible tracking of the disc to be able to pick it up while their body's moving. But it takes the air part out of the equation. So it's like just like in everything else in disc dog or in dog training or in life, we try to split behaviors into smaller pieces to make them easier for the dog to be successful, right? So a roller is a way of teaching a dog to use their prey drive to pursue a moving object with their body and accurately pick it up with their mouth. So for me, I don't start air catches until the dog's one catching rollers. What a catch of a roller looks like is they actually pick it up while the disc is still rolling. At first, what you'll see is the dog will run out, kind of roll over the disc, flatten it, and then come back and pick it up. So I keep working with this
Smack
until
it
the
with their
dog.
paws.
Yeah. Yeah, so you want to keep working on rollers until the dog can track it and pick it up cleanly on the other side. Now, a big part of that is your roller throw also. You need to make sure you're throwing it to the correct side of the dog, and you need to make sure that it's in a position where the dog can track it. So there's a human element to that too. But assuming the throw is perfect, I'm just going to say that the dog needs to be catching rollers first. My next step is working on their response time. So typically puppies have pretty slow response time. So if you're to like throw a disc, the disc is going to go out, land, and then the puppy's going to make an air kind of snap at it, right? So it's like toss, snap, toss, snap. So I first will set the puppy up in front of me and kind of give them a couple of those toss snaps so that they see that they're a little bit slow. And one of the first behaviors I work with the dog is to teach them an around, a strong side and a weak side around. So I'll send them for I'm a lefty. I'll send them around lefty, strong side, which is left to right. And as the dog comes to this side, I'll offer him a little take. So around and a take, around and a take. And as the dog gets the around and knows that a disc is going to be there, after 3 or 4 reps, I'll do a tiny little floater at the last second. So around, tiny little floater, around, tiny little floater, and then I'll go back to takes. So take, floater, floater, take, floater, floater. Basically building up the dog's confidence. And when they go around, there's going to be a disc in this area. And sometimes my handler's hand's going to be on it, and sometimes it's not. And when it's not, the disc is going to be variable. It's going to move a little bit, which is going to hurt their confidence or make them question whether the disc is. And then we go back to takes and it makes it build the confidence. So that's really it for me, is building up the response time of when the right time is for the dog to open their mouth. And I build that between takes and little tosses on a pattern. And then I just increase the distance on the pattern. So at first I'm just tossing right here. Once the dog is reliably getting those with confidence, I'll give it a 1 foot toss, a 2 foot toss, a 3 foot toss, 4 foot toss. But I base it around and around. So the dog is facing the direction and already moving in the direction of the catch, which is a lot easier for them. When they're first starting, if they're looking at you, which they're pretty much going to be looking at you because most of our reward placement is front, they have to like turn around, spot the disc, and then track it and catch it. And that's really, really hard for any disc dog, not just a dog that's just learning how to do that. So I would always try and get the dog going in the direction of the throw first, which around is a great way to do that, or through any of those moves, anything that kind of gets the dog in motion, especially for our bigger dogs. They have a lot of weight to move. And so they're slow at first. So if you can get them moving in a direction, it makes it a lot easier for them to learn to catch.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
you,
there
Jack?
were. I think that that's also, going back to our last question about the lightweight discs and the material discs too. Those float and stay in the air longer for younger dogs that are, like you said, they are trying to make those adjustments while they're moving and make a bead on the disc. Like if you're throwing a lot of times I'll see like people they will have gotten like a Kong disc at
Yeah,
PetSmart or something.
like a
And
brick.
that thing just drops like a rock, and they're
Oh,
like, "Yeah, my dog's not catching," and it's like, "Yeah, no joke. You like, my dog wouldn't catch that either. That thing's dropping
yeah.
way too fast." So like the lightweight discs and the material discs are great for that at the beginning as well. All
Um,
right.
all right. So what if my dog is pre-jumping or spinning before a catch on those longer distance throws, like toss and fetch? How do you get how do I get them to stop that nonsense? How do I get my dog to stop pre-jumping, post-jumping, like late jumping, because what we call pre-jumping is actually late jumping also, and spinning. Like those are kind of collection behaviors. So how do we get our dog to stop doing that, Jack?
I mean, well, geez, there's probably
It's a loaded
19,
question.
19 different answers to this question. I'll give my 2 cents and then let Dre add
Your
in what he
elevator
thinks.
version.
What?
The elevator version, right?
Yeah, so in general, here's what I believe. I believe that if your dog is thinking while they're out on the disc dog field, they are likely to catch more discs.
Mhm.
And if your dog has um, developed and learned a pattern of I run out to the 30-yard line, look up into the air just above my head, and there'll be a disc there waiting for me, and I just let it fall into my
Your
mouth.
mouth.
And that's their mode of practice, out and back, out and back, out and back, out and back.
Yeah,
Then they're not thinking that much. And as a matter of fact, oh, Dre, you muted yourself.
got it. I was telling a dog to
Oh,
stop doing.
okay. All right. I thought you were trying to add something. I'm like,
No, I'm just
so
telling the dog to
anyway,
stop doing
I
that.
think my belief is if that's their foundation and that's what they've learned, the game is, the game doesn't require any thinking by them. Like,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, it's even worse than not thinking. They're just like, woo! I just get
Love
to
it.
run as fast as I can, and then this disc is just going to be where it needs to be.
How do you make them think?
And so, like, when it's not where it's supposed to be because I make a bad throw or because they run too fast, like, the other thing is it might have started out being fine because when the dog was younger and learning the game, they were thinking because they weren't
Mhm.
sure. But now that they
Now they're
know what
sure.
it is
Yeah.
and they are sure what's going to happen, they aren't thinking anymore. So
Yeah.
thus they're just jumping up into the air or they get to that spot early and they're waiting on the disc so they spin around like, ooh, well, I don't have anything else to do here, so let me spin around and then try to make a catch. So I think just, and I'm very much generalizing and making this an easy response for time's sake, but vary, like vary what you do with your dog. Like don't make it back and forth every single day out in the yard, 30 yards. Like I'm gonna throw to 5 yards. I'm gonna throw not down the middle, but to the right a little bit. I'm going to ask my dog to go around and then not throw until they look back at me, and then I'm going to throw to the right or to the left. I'm mixing it up, right? I want my dog to still be connected with me, even if it's toss and fetch, even if it's throw and go like down the field long. I want there to be some sort of connection. Maybe I give them a cue of go or something like that so that they know it is okay now. It's go time to go all the way down the field. But those are just some ideas. Like I said, it's very quick and easy answer. It's it's not quite as quick and easy when your dog has developed this pattern over the course
Right.
of 6 months or something, and now you're trying to break it. Um, we could get into that. This could be a whole nother episode, so I'm just going to
Good.
stop right
We
there.
could maybe do that. We could do a separate episode on this one because I do really think this is a very common problem for people. Yeah. The I think that it's a collection issue, and the reason for the collection issue is varied, right? So like some dogs have a collection issue because they just really like to run. I have a couple like that where they just the most reinforcing part of long throws for them is the running. And so they have a really hard time choosing to collect because they just want one or two more strides. And so they tend to collect late, right? Even though they know they should. There's also the issue of dogs that have like poor collection skills, either because of their structure or because of their arousal or because they just haven't been taught, where they're like trying to get to the disc and they don't know what the right time is. I think that's what a lot of our pre-jumping is. So just to clarify, pre-jumping is when a dog jumps before it's time to catch the disc. I think that a very small percentage of our dogs are actually pre-jumpers. Like I think Andrew Hans Nalu is a pre-jumper that he would jump 10 yards before it was time to catch the disc. That's a pre-jump.
Yeah,
What we
Ferris is also a pre-jumper.
Yeah, and they're related, right? So, what we usually see with these scenarios is a dog that's getting under the disc. So let's say the disc is flying, right, and the dog is getting under the disc, and they get to here, and then they jump. And in that scenario, it's a late jump. So the disc has broken. The dog he knows it's the time to catch the disc, but because the disc is already broken, he still has to collect. Like he hasn't collected yet. And so I think my personal I'm thinking about this a lot lately because I have a border whippet now and he has a longer stride and he's faster, right? So it's harder for him to collect. So this is like my whole project with the border whippet is like teaching all these really cool drills. A lot of times he's in between stride. So like when the right time to catch is, he's in the middle of running. And so he has to complete that stride and then make a jump, which makes it a pre-jump. It's not a pre-jump, it's a late jump, right? Or same exact concept, a dog that isn't as confident with their leaping, when they're in that position and the disc breaks and they still have a stride to go because they're still running and they're not collected and they see they're missing it, or it's up high and they know it's not time to catch yet and they don't know how to confidently collect because they're going too fast, they're going to spin. Because it's easier to spin than it is to rock back their weight and put the load on their rear to collect. They just keep leaning forward and turn. So that's my theory on it, is that dogs that are pre-jumping or spinning, it's because they're not choosing to collect at the right time. And if they're not choosing to collect at the right dogs refuse things because they don't understand, they're not reinforced, or there's some discomfort with that. So that could be like if a dog has weak shoulders, weak front shoulders, or an old shoulder injury, they may really avoid, or if they have a lower back instability, they may avoid that strong collection because it's uncomfortable for their body at a full run to put the brakes on like that. It could be that it's not a trained behavior. It's not something that you've taken the time in and reinforced how the dog should collect at what time. That's a separate training behavior. That's what I do with my dogs. I put a lot of time into that. And then the other option is it's just not reinforced enough. So like when your dog collects, you're not marking it or paying it or reinforcing it. You're only marking the catch. So the dog doesn't think that the collection is the important part. They just think the
Right.
catch.
Yeah.
That's kind of my theory on it, is there are elements to work on. It matters why the dog is doing those things. Is there an injury? Is there too much speed or not enough reinforcement? Or just the dog doesn't understand the behavior. So I end up doing a lot of tracking and collection drills with dogs to build up that they're supposed to collect before they catch, and I mark the collection. And I just do a lot of that, and then I make the throws longer and longer and longer with that same criteria. And so toss and fetch for me, it's kind of the opposite of you. I don't want variability. I want an exact pattern. I want the same of the rinse, repeat, same exact pattern, the same exact throw, the same exact lead out, the same exact everything, calm tempo every single time for toss and fetch. So there's no arousal, there's no excitement, there's no looking around for anything. I don't talk to them after I throw unless I throw poorly. And then if I say something, they'll know that I threw poorly and it's going to be somewhere other than where it's supposed to be. So interesting. You'll actually create probably a better catching dog from your approach because you're teaching the dog to think and look for variability. And I might have more consistency because my dogs are taught to run the same pattern over and over and over again. But like you said, they don't see that pattern. Like Chillin's never, I mean, he's done toss and fetch league, but he doesn't see that pattern in his training regularly because I don't want him to run the pattern of toss and fetch out and back, out and back, out and back. I want him to look for my next cue. So there's a bunch of stuff there, and I do think that there's that would be a fun episode to
Yeah, I have some things to say about what you said, but I'm not going to.
because it would do another episode on it.
Because it would then be another 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
and they're not contradictory things. They're just things to add to what you said because it made me think. And also like again, I was being very simplistic in my response because I didn't want to get into it too much. But all right, so we have another episode right there.
Down. Yeah, write that
Collection
down
and
as one of our
control.
topics. Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
So here's a question that pops up a lot. Dogs with multiple handlers. There was a post about it. Like, is there a limit to the number of teams that I'm allowed to create with the same dog? First of all, the answer in UpDog is no, right? But then the follow-up question is, should there be? Some people ask, should there be a limit? What are your feelings about dogs that play with multiple handlers? What about if they do that during things like Bike Club? Like, does that start to like not make things fair or whatever? And so there was some conversation back and forth about that. Dre, this is a hot topic. What do you think?
I don't think we should limit that. I mean, this is coming from a left-handed person. Like, no one lends me their dog ever. I'm lefty. Like, nobody plays Paris toss and fetch with me. Nobody lends me their dog because I throw lefty. And that's
In
different.
regards to the last question, they probably should, because
Right?
that would introduce variability and it would
Variability.
make their dog think.
That's better. Yeah. So coming from a perspective of somebody that doesn't play multiple dogs, I only play my own dogs. Um, if somebody's great at something, people are going to lend them their dogs. You still got to beat the best team out there. So like I don't think we should have any limitations. And I mean, you can have people like Gary that are like phenomenal players that don't own any personal dogs. Like he's one of the best throwers in the business. If you can take somebody's dog that isn't your dog and still finish on the podium with them not living in your house, not having that same bond, not having that same relationship, props to you, man. Props. Because it takes a very special relationship to be able to communicate with dogs in that way. Now we're talking about far out. You know, there's less maybe communication needed in order to have success in that game. But like limiting it to me that just sounds like I'll just be frank. It sounds a little whiny. Go beat somebody. If you're mad that they throw better than you with 10 other dogs, like practice more or choose a game that you're better at or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think, how are we going to manage that? I don't want to have to manage how
Well,
dogs
yeah,
get with
I
what
would have two
person, what of
responses.
this, and oh, I don't want to. For me, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want, we
Yeah,
have bigger problems in the world than who's playing with what dog. If somebody's playing with 10 dogs, they're probably pretty good at what they do. So get better or play a different game.
so I agree that I don't want to manage any of it as UpDog for sure.
Yeah.
The one thing that we do have is we have a limit on the number of runs that a dog is
Yeah.
allowed to run on a day. And is that
10?
how many is that? I forget.
I think
What?
it's 8, 10.
10.
10.
So a dog can only run 10 times during a day, regardless of how many handlers it is that they're playing with. So that's something to keep in mind because we don't want the dog to just be like, kaput at the end of the day. Um, Personally, I've always felt like I have a very like internal struggle with this because if like for far out, I completely get it
Yeah.
because if I have a dog that I think, man, it would be so cool to see Wham catch a 70-yard bomb, but
Yeah.
I can't throw 70 yards. So I'd love to see Gary throw for Wham just to see if she could do it.
Yep.
And I mean, and it's cool watching your dog run that far down a field and catch that disc. So for a game like Far Out, I completely sort of understand. Like I personally can't throw that far. I would love to have, Finn or Gary or whatever, or somebody, Barb, throw for my dog down the field and let me see what my dog's able to do. However, if it's a game that I can play, like four-way play, just because, Steve might be able to run four-way play better than me,
Does not
like,
mean
I don't want to hand my dog off to Steve because I can play four-way play. Like, and we're a team and it's my dog. That's just my opinion. Like, I wouldn't want to do that for a game that I can play. And when people ask me to run their dogs, like, I've had people in, like, that just started, and they came out to the event and I had been working with them. They were new to the sport, and they're like, Jack, would you run my dog in four-way play or throw and go? And I would tell them, I'll run your dog in throw and go, and then I'm going to sign you up, and you're going to run your dog in throw and go after me. So, like, I'll get your dog kind of like situated with the environment and everything else. And then, but I want you to run your dog too, because I do think that sometimes people see players that are better than them and they're like, here, no, no, no. I can't be good enough for my dog. You take my dog and go play the game. And I just don't want that to get in the way of their growth. Does that make
yep.
sense? Like the
Oh, that
human's
makes perfect
growth.
sense. Yeah, that was
Um, So anyway, I've got mixed feelings about it. So I don't think there's anything that I want to manage that I want UpDog to manage. Um,
Exactly.
and then the idea of bike club, I totally kind of get that. Like if like Remix is an awesome dog that we could hand off to anybody and he could get 100 points and spaced out as long as the person knows how to throw decent. Like he's just going to run around and catch. And if we handed Remix off to 5 different people,
Have your whole team.
we so that we could get better scores, I don't think
Remix Fight
that's
Club.
yeah, I don't think that's kind of fair for bike clubs. So I don't know. Again, not something I want to police, but just my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I think that in a lot of our games, it works itself out because the technical elements of the game limit how successful a borrowed team could be. But in those scenarios, let the dogs run. And if you have that much of an issue with it, then don't lend your dog out or don't borrow a dog.
And this is why I like freestyle, because freestyle would be the hardest game to hand off your dog to somebody and go, here, you go play freestyle with my dog for me.
Yep.
I could do it, but it wouldn't look that good.
Yep. And we had a couple teams at UpDiff do that last year with borrowed dogs and stuff, just because the owner of the dog can't or doesn't freestyle and wants them to have the experience of freestyling because the dog can. But what you see is that maybe they haven't played with that dog for 3 or 4 months between reps. So it's just for certain games it requires a lot of connection and practice, and for other games you can, unleash it. So I wouldn't want to see that go away for a game like Far Out, and I think for the rest of the games it just sort of works itself out.
Yeah. I mean, I did do freestyle with Jolene, Babs's dog, for
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
but that was also because Babs couldn't. She had
Right.
two
That
bum
was
knees.
a perfect
She had a
scenario.
messed up elbow. So she knew Jolene would be a great freestyle dog, but she couldn't do it. Like
Yeah,
in
and
that
April played with her
situation,
too.
I sort of understood.
Yep. Yep.
But
That-
anyways, all right. Next question, Dre.
All right. Any updates on UpDiff? And I'm so excited. The freestyle invitation now. Give me updates.
So we have like small little updates, but hopefully we have a big update coming soon for the Freestyle Invitational. And I think that's kind of the update for that one is we're working on it. It is definitely going to happen. It is definitely going to be in the fall. So we're looking at likely November. And we're just looking to nail down a location and a absolute date so we can let everyone know. We want to do that very quickly. So within the next few weeks, hopefully we can nail that down, and we will start going through the process of figuring out how we're doing the invites and things like that. But we definitely want to give people a heads up early so that they can plan to go. And we've already announced this part, but it will be televised, which is great. And we are thinking that it'll be freestyle and probably one other game that will also be televised. So when we have details, we will let everybody know, but that's coming up soon, and it is a definite. So it's not, oh, it might happen, it might not. And then UpDiff updates are Kat and I went to Winston-Salem 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Checked out the field. It looked great. It's gonna kind of be it's better than the field in Cadiz. It is not quite as nice as the one in Decatur. I don't think we're gonna get nicer than the field in Decatur. So it's not a soccer field, but the grass is nice, but it's pretty
Sure.
thick. So those of you that are like thinking, will I be throwing rollers or air throws and far
Air
out?
throws.
I think your rollers will be limited because the grass is pretty thick. So unless you have like some sort of disc that just cuts right through thick grass, I don't know. It might be air throws this year. But there's tons of space. Parking will be easy. Campground is really close. All the things for the awards are really close. I think that everyone's going to like the venue a lot.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
it's great. The field looked great. It was thicker grass, but that appeases all the people that hated rollers last year. That this year we're gonna likely have some more air throws before we go back to Decatur. So that's an exciting change, and just it mixes up the elements and how the results are going to shake out. So all those far out players, make sure you're working on both skills of the rollers and the air throws for 2026. That's exciting. We also have Bite Club going on in July. It starts up again, and the first week is four-way play and time warp. Second week, spaced out and fireball. Third week, throw and go level one and time warp. And fourth week, throw and go level two and fireball. I am most excited actually about fireball. I've only got to play it twice so far.
Um, the uh, the thing with Fireball is, man, I think I have like a strategy, but I keep messing up my strategy. Like in my head, I have a strategy that I think will work well for me, but I
Yeah.
haven't practiced it with the dogs. So my practice is like when
It's
I go out to
live.
play,
Yeah.
and then I screw it up. So like I haven't been able to test it to see whether it would actually be good because I keep messing it up. But I'm
Is it the
excited about it,
strategy?
so I
Is
want
it,
to see.
does it take into account the different timer times in your strategy?
No, I just don't even care about the timer.
I want to know what your strategy is. You're gonna tell me after this episode. The times that I've played it, the first time I got the last timer and I was completely out of discs when the fireball happened. And then the second time I was just scared that was going to happen. So I just held on to all my discs and then when the fireball happened, I threw them all. So I'd be interested to see what your strategy is because I'm seeing a lot of strategy on the discussion page and people chatting about ways to address all the thing. But this is one of those games that like it's hard to visualize and have a plan and then actually go out there and execute it. It's definitely a reactionary game with the music
Yeah.
hitting at a certain time and shutting off at a certain time. It's like it's testing how what choices we're making in what time frame, right?
I mean, we played it locally multiple times, and I can say that the fireball bonus time is meant to increase your scores.
Yeah.
I would say that the majority of people that I have scored, the fireball bonus time tends to mess up their round more than do it
Interesting. Yeah,
do it
because they're trying to get stuff done hectically at the end instead of
right,
sticking to the
right. Just like you said, they're throwing discs really quickly because it's fireball bonus time, rather than like, okay, let me at least get one zone here. Let me
right.
get zone six, and I'm gonna make sure they're like, and then after fireball bonus time, they've thrown a bunch of discs. They're out of discs, so now
That's what
that
happened to
that
me.
messes up their
Yep.
system. They got to run around and get this. And
Yep.
also, too, if they're firing it really fast, they're more apt to, like, have one float into a zone that they've already picked up, and that negates that zone. I would say, literally, I would say that most of
Most
the
of the
people during Fireball bonus time that I've judged, both locally and like at UpDiff, the Fireball bonus time hurt them rather than help them. And it's because they're getting frantic, which is part of why we developed it. Like you said, like, how do you handle the pressure? How do you handle the pressure of having to think through things and blah, blah, blah. So
Or your
it's
last freestyle set when they say 10 seconds left. A lot of
right.
people go through and make a bunch of drops on their last freestyle set because they're trying to get it
Trying
in.
to rush. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, so I
Interesting.
really like uncovering all the fun gems we're finding from Fireball. It's been and it's a lot of people's new favorite game. There's a lot of love for Fireball out there right now, so that's a good one. And then we got some seminars and stuff coming up here, Jack. I'll be up at Granite State doing 3 days of jam camp, July 11th through 13th. And then Jack, you're gonna be
I'll
in
be I'll be in Pennsylvania at Wolfpack Disc Dogs August 9th and 10th. And you will be there right after me, right?
Yep, August 22nd and 24th.
Y-
And you're going out
The
of the
people who come to mine August 9th and 10th should definitely all go to yours August 22nd and 24th because like I
we
mean
have very
just
different
just
approaches,
in
yeah.
general, I think that our training styles complement each other. And I also think that my strength is more foundational and your strength is more like taking it to the next level. So I really think, I don't know, I think anybody that goes to mine should definitely go to yours.
One of these days we will get together a combo seminar. So one of these clubs, maybe I'll put it out there in the universe. Maybe this fall, like October, November, maybe even December, one of these clubs will bring in me and you to teach together. So that would be fun. So I'll put that
If
out in
it's
the
December, it needs to be inside or
yeah,
down
or
south.
warm, right? Maybe in Texas, maybe in Texas. Yeah, and then I have a new interactive prep course I forgot to put on this list actually that's going to be starting in July and August. In July. Yeah, in July and August to prep for AWI and then to prep for Skyhounds. So those I really enjoyed those too. The prep courses are cool because it's like just creating practice and training schedules and goals and that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's valuable stuff to carry into your training going forward. So that's what we have going on for the next couple months. And then Jack, you told me about the next thing, which I'm getting on right after we're done podcasting.
Oh, well, I think we skipped the thing. I don't wanna accidentally miss it. There are some non-seminars, some actual UpDog events going
Oh, I
on
did skip
too.
those. I did skip
In
those.
July. And again, these are things that if we missed your event, we apologize. We look at the UpDog Challenge discussion page, try and grab them. We're not going to list down all of them. Obviously, we're not just going to go down the list, but like a lot of times, you put on a bigger event or you try to bring in multiple clubs or you have a themed event or something like that. Let us know so that we can announce it on our What Up podcasts. Two that are coming up in July. The Northeast Classic UpDog Challenge, which seems to be getting bigger and bigger each year. This is September 26th, 27th, and 28th. My birthday weekend. Maybe I'll see if Kat and I can try to get there. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That you should check that out. That's hosted by Wolfpack Disc Dogs. And then July 19th and 20th, so I believe that's the weekend before that, the Canine Carnival UpDog Challenge in Batavia, New York, which that one sounds really cool. They have both of these clubs have posted on the discussion page. So if you have questions about their events, you can ask that on the discussion page. And if we missed yours, put it on the discussion page so it's there. At least people know about it. Yes, we didn't get to announce it on the podcast, but you'll get more traction probably off the discussion page anyway. All right. And last thing. This was actually posted on the discussion page, which is why I found out about it. And it's always something that like I seem to always come up with an excuse to buy something when they have it.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with this, Ryobi Days is happening at Home Depot, which if you've ever been to a dog event, I'm sure you have seen the what I don't even know what color green that would be called. What is that? Chartreuse green? Like the green, kind of like the neon green fans that you see. Those are Ryobi fans, and they run on the Ryobi batteries. You always need multiple batteries, need multiple fans. So Ryobi Days are great. There's usually good prices at Home Depot, and they have like deals like, hey, if you get 2 batteries, then you also get this free vacuum or something
There's
with
like
it.
a vacuum and a nail gun and all kinds of like free tools you get. So I'm definitely getting on that deal today. I know I have a lot of Ryobi tools and very old batteries. So I'm excited to upgrade those this year. Yeah, it
We
was
are
like
in no way sponsored by Ryobi or Home Depot,
no,
unfortunately. We'd like
it
to
was,
be, so if they
we
could
can
reach
work
out
on
to
that.
us if they want us to be.
Future career
But
starts include a battery. That'd be pretty bad.
exactly, we will do this for cheap. Give Dre a battery and me a vacuum, and we'll announce your Ryobi Days every year.
Yep. Hey, do we have any fun facts today, Jack?
We do, but we're going to end without them because we've run out of time.
No fun facts today. We're done.
Actually, here's a fun fact. I
Okay,
got
give me
one,
one. Give me one.
2. There's Alaska has had it's the very first time ever that they've had a heat advisory warning.
I
They
saw
had
that.
they had temperatures in the 80s and had a heat advisory warning. And secondly, scientists, I've seen a bunch of posts about this, that scientists are saying that there are many species of fireflies that are going to become extinct, that we are possibly going to be the last generation that will see fireflies in the same way that we've seen them in the past. Like fireflies are kind of a summer bug that you would see out in like open pastures and things. Those are the lightning bugs. So I guess I just have those 2 stories out there to say like, hey, I don't know what's going on with Earth, but maybe we need to take care of it. So when we do our let's be kind to humans and dogs, let's also be kind to Earth. So, you ready to go?
Yeah. All right. You ready? I'm ready.
All right. In the meantime, what should we be doing, Dre?
Kind to each other and Earth.
And be kind to your animals and Earth. We will see you next time on The Sweet Spot.
Thank you. It's about your mama.